This season of BlizzCon has begun, and rather than being solely a weekend event, Blizzard decided to put more meaning into the road to BlizzCon. That means that we are being treated to some more teasers and events now already in anticipation for the big finale later in November. But that's not the only thing that's different this time around. Unless this is your first BlizzCon, you will probably remember the BlizzCon themed skins that were added to the virtual ticket in the years before. They are notably epic variety skins that celebrate the event, and last year Winston got one such skin. You see, when it comes to the virtual ticket, Blizzard is not just trying to sell you the opportunity to consume more Blizzard related content. BlizzCon is a celebration of all of their franchises and their community, and to display that, they always add neat little items to the virtual ticket that you can use in-game. In each of their games. Now, something that's very strongly debated is whether or not this skin should be considered a $50 item in the same way people made a fuss about the $30 Lucio emote, and perhaps even the $15 All-Star skins before they were reduced in price. And to any one participant of this debate, it looks like the case is very cut and dry. But because everyone is so busy yelling at each other about how the others are wrong if they don't agree with them, I thought it would be fun to take the time to talk about the nuance that surrounds this whole discussion. Because as you'll figure in just a moment, both of these sides actually have very valid arguments. Now, to kick things off, let's lay down the accusation that this is a $50 item, but talk about why it is perceived as such, when in the previous years, nobody had a problem with the digital items added to the virtual ticket. Obviously, this is not a $50 skin the same way Lucio's emote was not a $30 emote. It is an added incentive to a product that includes a whole host of items and services. It should come to nobody's surprise that to a person who is not interested in paying the premium to watch more BlizzCon content, but still wants that skin, that they will lash out in anger and call this a ripoff. When in reality, incentivizing purchases by adding value to a product is nothing new. There might be people who want to get the full brunt of BlizzCon content, but find the price of the virtual ticket just a little too steep. They can now justify the purchase a bit better because they're getting more value for their money in form of a number of in-game items for a variety of Blizzard games. And for people who would have bought the ticket anyway, it's just a nice addition. But because the items for Overwatch were always very strictly BlizzCon themed, people who didn't care much for BlizzCon also didn't think twice about them. It was a reskin of a character to remind the player of this event, and that's all there's to it. But because this time around they added a legitimate legendary skin, players are starting to get upset. This is not strictly BlizzCon themed, it's just a really cool looking skin that is inspired by Diablo. This could have by all means been part of any update to be obtainable in-game for currency. Where it might feel like Blizzard is trying to push us towards that purchase by adding a cool skin, it is one of those rare occasions where I will actually give them the benefit of the doubt, and here's why. Other BlizzCon in-game items for other games were also not always very strictly BlizzCon themed. For example, the Sky Chaser mount in World of Warcraft. They simply gave us each an Alliance and Horde themed flying mount to thank us for our purchase. Naturally, WoW is no stranger to having exclusive cosmetic content locked behind paywalls, so I don't know that anyone really cared that much at the time, but I would also lie if I said that I keep up with the WoW forums the same way I do in Overwatch. Speaking of WoW, if there's any guild out there that wants to help your mans out running some mythic dungeons, hit me up on Twitter. I'm usually playing solo in Sylvanas Alliance, and pugging for mythics is kind of a drag. Just tossing that out there. Thanks in advance. But back to the whole BlizzCon virtual ticket debate. I honestly believe that Blizzard is just adding items to the virtual ticket that they believe are cool. Maybe Overwatch players express their disappointment over just getting a reskin in O-dubs when other games get much cooler items, so they wanted to add something that felt a bit more special and worth it. Obviously, I'm not denying that this could have been done with the intent of making us feel forced to buy the ticket. And as we've discussed in a past video, they did make a lot of very questionable decisions surrounding how they monetize the Overwatch League, so I would not put it past them. It's just that I try to look at it on a case-by-case basis, and this time around, it just doesn't really feel like an intentional ripoff. As it reads at the bottom of the BlizzCon celebration post on BlizzCon.com, the in-game items for Overwatch, StarCraft 2, and StarCraft Remastered will also be available separately in 2019. Further details will be announced at a later date. If what players would call malicious intent was their goal, then they would have insisted on the item's exclusivity, much like with the Overwatch League All-Star skins. But instead, like the Lucio emote that's planned to be made available in the future, they are also going to sell this content separately for players who don't care about the event. Now, of course, there's one big argument we are yet to discuss, and that argument shows us that Blizzard did all this to themselves. It's the very fact that at the game's launch, they promised players that all new updates would be free of charge and players could access the content without having to pay extra fees. And seeing as new skins make 95 95% of the new content added to the game, having cosmetic items locked behind paywalls obviously does not sit well with some players. Look, if it was my decision, they would stop shoving skins down our throats with the occasional hero and map launch and instead would work on actually meaningful content drops, even if that means selling them under a season pass. Because I am somebody who is willing to pay for content so long that the content is good and warrants the asking price. But if you make bold promises like that at the beginning of your game's lifecycle, then even small things like exclusive vanity items can become a thorn in the side of your community. And as much as BlizzCon and the virtual ticket are part of a celebration surrounding all of the Blizzard franchises, there are a truckload of players who really just play Overwatch. I mean, sure, I more or less grew up on Blizzard games, especially with my long history in WoW, so I personally love the whole celebration surrounding the franchises. But I also acknowledge that Overwatch was such a hit with so many players who never bothered with any of their other titles that them not caring for anything else but Overwatch doesn't really surprise me. So to these players, who apparently didn't read the fine print, it might feel like an actual $50 skin. And simultaneously, those of us who have been in the Blizzard ecosystem for a while might call that crazy talk. It's not crazy if you take Overwatch's unique position in the Blizzard lineup into consideration, as well as the fact that cosmetic items make up a huge portion of content added to the game. And they did promise that we'd be able to access all content without having to pay extra. While this might be a discussion of semantics, it does not change how the players feel, and those feelings are not entirely unwarranted. Speaking of wasting money, quick reminder that Overwatch is available for just $12 over in Humble Bundle as part of their Humble monthly subscription. Overwatch is their early unlock, so you get that one right away, and later down the month you get even more games added to your bundle. You can cancel anytime, all the games are yours to keep, and if you use my affiliate link in the description below, I even make some money off of your purchase. Not to mention that everything you buy on Humble Bundle also supports charity. Man, sellout segues on point today. At any rate, I won't be so audacious as to say that you have to feel a certain way about this topic, so let me just lay down the facts to wrap up the video. Nothing about the virtual ticket changed in the grand scheme of things. They have done this every year, and only now it is becoming a problem because one of the items changed. Whether or not they did it with malicious intent is for you to decide, but if you don't care about BlizzCon, just wait a bit because they will make the skin available later down the line. Though chances are that you're gonna have to pay for it either way. Just remember that BlizzCon as an event and the virtual ticket as a purchase are not meant to celebrate Overwatch as a game, but Blizzard as a game maker, including all of their franchises. While this might not change your mind about this topic, it is an important distinction to make. So let me know down in the comment section below whether or not you feel outraged about this. Do you want the BlizzCon themed skins back, or is this a better alternative? Curious to see what you guys think. But until then, this is me done for the day as I talk about the BlizzCon virtual ticket. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to check out Humble Bundle via the button on screen if you want to get Overwatch on the cheap. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.